Have you ever had an itch that just wouldn't go away? Not a rash, not dry skin, just a strange, lingering itch in the same exact spot, day after day, week after week. Maybe you've ignored it. Maybe you chalked it up to aging, or maybe your body has been whispering something far more serious. Here's the truth no one tells you. Certain kinds of persistent itching, especially in older adults, can be the earliest warning signs of cancer. Yes, cancer. Not weeks later, not months, but before any visible lump, before the fatigue sets in, before doctors even suspect something's wrong. And the most surprising part? These itches tend to show up in specific places on the body, and doctors have seen the pattern again and again. That's why this video is more than just a list. It's a roadmap, one that reveals 5 key spots where unexplained itching may signal hidden cancers like lymphoma, pancreatic cancer, leukemia, and even breast or skin cancer. Because the body is smart, and long before it yells for help, it whispers. Now let's be clear, not every itch means cancer, but when it doesn't respond to creams, when there's no rash, no new detergent, no bug bite, and especially when it lasts for weeks or keeps you awake at night, it's worth paying closer attention. In today's video, we're going to walk through why each of these areas matters, which types of cancer they're connected to, how to tell the difference between a passing nuisance and a potential red flag. You'll hear real stories of seniors who followed a hunch, who noticed that something felt off in their skin, and caught something early long before symptoms got worse. Their experiences might sound familiar, and they might just save a life, maybe even yours. But I want to make something very clear. This is not about panic. This is not about fear. This is about empowerment. Because awareness leads to early action, and early action leads to better outcomes. If you're over 60, your body speaks in subtler ways. The sharp pains of youth are replaced with quiet cues, an off feeling here, a restless sensation there. Sometimes it's fatigue. Other times it's a persistent itch in a place that just doesn't make sense. That's where we begin, because by the time symptoms are loud, the disease may already be strong. But when you know what to look for and when to speak up, you give yourself the best possible chance. So if you've been wondering whether that strange itch is worth mentioning, stick with me, because you might just learn what your body's been trying to tell you all along. Let's start with sign number 1, a persistent, unexplained itch on the lower legs, and why it's showing up in more seniors diagnosed with lymphoma than you might think. It starts small, a tingling sensation on the front of your shins. No redness, no rash, just an itch. You try lotion, nothing changes. You change your soap, no difference. And night after night, it lingers. Sometimes it even wakes you. Most people shrug it off as aging skin. But if that itch is deep, persistent, and unexplainable, it might be the first signal of something far more serious. Doctors have noticed a powerful pattern. In older adults, a recurring itch on the lower legs, especially the shins or calves, has shown up again and again in patients later diagnosed with blood-related cancers, particularly lymphoma. Now, why the legs? It seems like an odd place for cancer to show its face, but here's what's really happening beneath the surface. Lymphoma is a type of cancer that begins in the lymphatic system, your body's internal defense and drainage network. When lymphoma cells begin to grow, they release inflammatory chemicals into the bloodstream. These chemicals travel through your body, and one of their earliest effects is nerve irritation, especially in the skin. And for reasons doctors are still studying, the lower limbs, with their dense web of nerves and thinner skin, are one of the most common targets. The itch isn't like dry skin. It doesn't flake. It doesn't sting. It feels internal, almost like something's crawling just under the skin. And it often gets worse at night when inflammation rises and the body quiets down. There's a man named George, 75, who told his story at a cancer awareness event. For nearly 6 months, he had what he called a maddening itch across his shins. No rash, no swelling, just an unrelenting urge to scratch. His doctor thought it was eczema or maybe detergent sensitivity, but nothing worked. Not creams, not antihistamines, not even switching laundry soap. Eventually, blood work revealed abnormal white cell levels. A scan confirmed swollen lymph nodes near his chest. The final diagnosis, Hodgkin's lymphoma. And the itch? It was his only symptom. George's story is more common than you'd think. And while not every itchy leg means cancer, here's what separates a harmless irritation from a warning sign. There's no visible rash. It persists for weeks or months. It doesn't respond to moisturizers or skin treatments. It's worse at night. And it may be paired with other subtle symptoms: fatigue, night sweats, unexplained weight loss. As we get older, our bodies don't always shout. They whisper, they signal through quiet discomfort. And when something feels off, especially when it lingers, it deserves a closer look. If you or someone you love finds themselves scratching the same spot on their legs night after night, don't ignore it. Ask your doctor, request a blood panel, mention the pattern. Because the earlier you listen to that whisper, the greater your chance of stopping something serious before it takes hold. Coming up next, sign number 2, a deep phantom itch between your shoulder blades, the unexpected connection to pancreatic cancer. Some itches feel like they're right beneath the skin, but others feel like they're coming from somewhere you can't quite reach. That's exactly how Linda, 70, described it. She called it a phantom itch, a deep, nagging sensation between her shoulder blades that no lotion could touch. No rash, no flaking, no new laundry soap. Just a persistent, mysterious itch right in the middle of her back. At first, she blamed her posture, then maybe her mattress, then maybe an old shirt tag. But nothing changed, except how often it kept her up at night. What she didn't know then is that this itch wasn't coming from her back at all. It was coming from her pancreas. Strange as it sounds, this exact area, the upper back, especially between the shoulder blades, is one of the earliest places some seniors experience a warning sign of pancreatic cancer. Why? Because when a tumor begins to grow in the pancreas, it can press against or partially block the bile ducts, the tiny tubes that carry bile from your liver to your intestines. When this flow slows or stops, bile salts begin to build up in the bloodstream. And these salts don't just affect digestion, they also irritate nerve endings, especially in areas where nerves are densely packed and highly sensitive, like the upper back. It's one of the few signals your body can send before the more classic signs, abdominal pain, weight loss, jaundice, ever appear. For Linda, it was her only symptom. But one day after a routine blood panel revealed elevated liver enzymes, her doctor ordered imaging. That's when they found the small tumor pressing on her bile duct. Caught early, all because of an itch that refused to go away. Here's what makes this kind of itch different. It's localized, centered between the shoulder blades. It feels internal, like it's coming from beneath the skin. It doesn't respond to moisturizers, back scratchers, or creams. And it often appears before any digestive symptoms. If you also notice dark urine, pale stools, or a lingering sense of fatigue, those are further signs that your liver or pancreas may be under stress. And while back itches can come from a dozen harmless things, dry air, pressure points, friction from chairs, what makes this one dangerous is how specific and stubborn it is. Your body has no shortcuts for communication. When an internal organ like the pancreas is struggling, it can't flash a light or ring a bell, but it can irritate a nerve, and it can send a signal, quietly, consistently, to your skin. That's why your back becomes the messenger, even when the problem is buried deep in your gut. So if you've had an itch that won't go away, especially if it's always in the same spot and nothing helps, don't dismiss it. Bring it up. Ask for liver tests. Let your doctor know, because sometimes your body isn't just itching, it's warning you. Up next, sign number 3, a persistent, tingling itch on the scalp, and how it could be the first red flag of leukemia or skin cancer. An itchy scalp may not seem like a big deal. We often blame it on the weather, a new shampoo, a hat we wore too long. But what if the itch isn't coming from your skin at all? What if it's coming from your blood? Henry, 73, never thought much of it at first. Each afternoon, his scalp would start to itch, not just in one place, but in little waves, like something was crawling beneath the surface. No flakes, no redness. He switched shampoos, threw out his favorite hat, tried scalp oils and cooling gels. Nothing helped, and that's when the itch began to worry him. Not because it was painful, but because it felt strange, persistent, internal. Eventually, during a routine visit for fatigue, his doctor ran a full blood panel. The results showed unusually high white blood cell counts. A bone marrow biopsy confirmed early-stage chronic lymphocytic leukemia. And the scalp? It had been the first part of his body trying to speak up. For older adults, especially those over 60, an unexplained, unrelenting scalp itch without dandruff, flakes, or redness can sometimes be a warning sign of blood-related cancers like leukemia or certain types of skin cancer, developing in hard-to-see areas of the scalp. Here's why. As leukemia cells multiply, they disrupt the body's immune response. This throws off the chemical messengers that manage inflammation, triggering nerve-related sensations, especially in sensitive areas like the scalp. The result? An itch that isn't caused by dryness, but by inflammation deep in the blood and nerve tissue. But there's more, because the scalp is also a common location for skin cancers, especially in areas where the hair is thinning. Basal cell carcinoma, squamous cell carcinoma, even melanoma can begin as a single itchy patch. No lump, no mole, just a tiny area that never seems to calm down. What makes this kind of itch different? And it doesn't flake or peel like dandruff. It feels more like tingling, crawling, or burning than surface dryness. It tends to move around or stay focused in one stubborn area. It doesn't respond to shampoo changes or scalp treatments, and if you've also noticed increased bruising, unusual fatigue, or a vague sense of feeling off, it may be time to ask your doctor for a blood test or a dermatological check, especially if you can't remember the last time anyone examined your scalp under proper lighting. Because this area is often hidden, it's smart to ask for help. A spouse, a caregiver, or even a hairdresser can help look for redness, bumps, or scaly patches you might miss. Your scalp may not have a voice, but it does have nerves, and those nerves can speak volumes. So if your itch has outlasted every treatment, every shampoo, every reasonable explanation, don't silence it, investigate it. Coming up next, sign number 4, a subtle itch on the chest or breast area, and why it could be the earliest sign of inflammatory breast cancer. Some signs come as pain, others come as pressure, but in some of the most overlooked cases, the body's first warning comes as something almost too easy to dismiss: an itch. Ruth, 69, didn't think much of it at first. Every morning she noticed a nagging itch near her right breast, sometimes beneath it, sometimes near the nipple. No rash, no bumps, just a sensation that wouldn't go away. She switched bras, changed laundry detergent, tried going without a bra altogether. Nothing made a difference. Weeks passed, then months. What finally prompted her to see a doctor wasn't pain, it was persistence. Her skin wasn't irritated, but something under it felt wrong. The diagnosis? Inflammatory breast cancer, a rare, aggressive form that doesn't always present as a lump. In fact, in many cases, the very first symptom is not a mass or swelling. It's a focused, stubborn itch on the chest or breast area. And in older adults, where breast tissue may already feel different due to age, that itch can be the only clue. Here's what makes this kind of itch different. It stays in the same spot day after day. It feels deep, as if under the skin rather than on top. It doesn't go away with moisturizers or fabric changes. It may be accompanied by warmth, skin dimpling, or a slightly rough texture. And often, there is no visible lump. Inflammatory breast cancer works fast. It spreads along the skin and lymph vessels, not always forming the typical hard mass most people associate with breast cancer. That's why early signs are so often dismissed, especially in older women who assume it's skin dryness, friction, or aging. But this isn't just a concern for women. Men can develop breast cancer too, especially in later years. And in men, a persistent itch or irritation near the nipple often gets overlooked, either brushed off as heat rash or ignored out of embarrassment. Whether you're male or female, if you notice persistent itching on the chest or breast, thickened skin that feels different than the other side, a patch that looks flushed, slightly red or swollen, or a feeling of heaviness or warmth in one area, It's time to ask a doctor. This is especially true if the itch is located near the nipple, beneath the breast, or along the outer chest wall. Because sometimes cancer doesn't knock, it doesn't shout, it simply nudges, quietly, repeatedly. Your job is to notice the nudge. So if something doesn't feel right, and it hasn't felt right for a while, don't wait. The most aggressive forms of breast cancer often hide in plain sight, and when caught early, treatment becomes far more effective. Coming up next, sign number 5, the itch no one wants to talk about in the anal or genital area, and why ignoring it could be dangerous. It's the itch no one wants to talk about, the one that makes people hesitate, shift in their seat, or stay silent altogether. But silence in this case can be dangerous. Persistent itching in the anal or genital area, especially when there's no obvious cause, may be more than a discomfort. In some cases, it's the body's way of alerting you to something serious, including anal cancer, vulvar cancer, or penile cancer. Let's talk about it. Openly, respectfully, because your health is worth it. Eugene, 76, spent nearly a year dealing with what he assumed was just hemorrhoid irritation. He tried everything: over-the-counter creams, sitz baths, cold compresses. He even adjusted his diet, hoping it would help. But no matter what he did, the itch would return. Same place, same burning discomfort, every day. Eventually, a colorectal specialist suggested a scope exam, just to rule things out. What they found was a small lesion inside the anal canal. It was early-stage cancer. Eugene had caught it just in time. It wasn't pain that brought him in. It wasn't blood. It was an itch. And this isn't just a male issue. Women, especially after menopause, often experience changes in skin texture or moisture in the vulvar area. That's normal. But when itching becomes chronic, focused, and doesn't respond to hygiene changes or creams, it might be something more. Vulvar cancer, though rare, is more common after age 60. And one of its earliest, and often only symptoms, is a persistent, unexplained itch. What sets this kind of itch apart? It's localized, often in one small spot. It feels raw, burning, or deep, not just dry. It doesn't respond to moisturizers, powders, or pads. It often worsens at night, and it may be accompanied by skin changes, roughness, discoloration, or thinning. Because the anal and genital areas are filled with nerve endings, they're often early messengers of trouble, even before visible symptoms appear. But most people brush it off. They assume it's a hygiene issue, a friction rash, or just part of getting older. And because it's an uncomfortable topic, they hesitate to bring it up at all. But here's the truth. Embarrassment has never saved a life. Awareness has. So if you or someone you love has been dealing with an itch in this area that keeps coming back, don't dismiss it. Don't be afraid to speak up. Let your doctor know. Ask for a proper exam, because sometimes it's not about discomfort, it's about early detection. And the earlier you act, the better your chances. Let's take a breath together, because what we've talked about today isn't easy. It's not light, but it is necessary. You've just learned about 5 quiet signs, 5 very specific places on the body where a simple, persistent itch could be the first warning of something far more serious. And if there's one truth I hope you carry with you, it's this: your body never stays silent. It just speaks in subtle ways, not with sirens, not with flashing lights, but with patterns, with sensations, with that quiet, nagging feeling that something isn't quite right. It might be an itch on your legs that no lotion can fix, a spot between your shoulders that burns for no reason, a tingling on your scalp, a pull near your chest, or a rawness in a private place you're too embarrassed to mention. But what if those small things are actually your first line of defense? What if they're your body asking you to listen before it has to scream? For older adults, this awareness is not just important, it's life-saving, because the signs of cancer and other serious conditions don't always come in dramatic waves. They come as whispers, and the earlier you notice, the earlier you act, the better your outcome can be. Let me be clear, this video isn't about fear, it's about attention, it's about instinct, And most of all, it's about empowerment. If any part of today's video felt familiar, if a story reminded you of something you or someone close to you has experienced, don't brush it off. Start a conversation. Call your doctor. Ask questions. You don't have to be a medical expert to speak up. You just have to notice a pattern that doesn't feel right and say something. Because the most dangerous thing isn't the itch, it's ignoring it. Now I want to hear from you. Leave a comment below with one thing you learned today, or a change you plan to make. Your insight could be the very encouragement someone else needs to take action too. And if this video helped you, please tap the like button and make sure you subscribe and turn on the notification bell. That way you won't miss more content like this. Real stories, real signs, and real strategies to help you live longer, stronger, and more informed. Thank you for spending time with me today. Thank you for caring enough to listen. Because when we listen to our bodies, when we trust our instincts, and when we act early, we turn whispers into wisdom. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next video.